This year, I decided to paint a nativity card for my Christmas card, and I wanted it to have a glow to represent how Jesus has been a light in my life for so many years now. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a glow, how to make the light look like it's coming from behind something, what details I ended up adding, and then there's a major tweak because the perspective on the Crechè was just totally messed up. And then I'm going to tell you the one thing that makes a glow happen every time. I'm going to start putting the glow in there, and I'm just going to do a variegated pattern with my brush. So I'm starting with this yellow, and it's a bit watered down, and I'm even going to lift a little bit right where the baby Jesus is. And I'm going to just move out from there, especially upwards, and get into the gamboge, this really warm, glowy color. I just like this color a lot. And add some rust to it. And I'm just smushing my brush all over, but it stays wet enough. I didn't wet the paper ahead of time. I want to get up a little bit of this gold down here. But it's darker there, so I'm not worrying too much about it having a perfectly even edge, blending in any way perfectly. Wet on wet, it's very effective, and it works great. However, if you go over the same spot more than once, you kind of ruin the effect. And with this, you can go over the same spot more than once, and so it's a little bit more forgiving. And I personally like that a lot. So I'm mixing those two together and getting into some browns. Now today I'm working on arches, a block, 8x10 block, and that is kind of fun to work with because you don't have to stretch anything. Now I want some more of this gold going back up here. The thing about doing this variegated pattern that I like is that you can go back over it later too without messing it up. I'm trying to work quickly so that my colors can blend without sharp lines. In order to keep that from spreading more brown out, I'm going to add more light at the edge, and so that another new color forms. And you can fiddle with it all you want, but let's just try to get it done so that we can go on to the rest of it. This part dried so fast it left these lines, so I'm going to just add a little more yellow in there and lift it with a wet brush instead of a dry tissue. I really do want there to be some glow right there that's more glowy than this outside part. And then as you see blooms form, you just go over it with a wet brush again and take it back out to the color that you want at the edges, which in my case is indigo. Got to get some dark on that one spot. All right, I think that's good. It's pretty round. It doesn't need to be so round, but it'll be okay when the other detail's in. When you paint this in, just think about what it's like when the sun is shining through the trees. The trees, right where the sun is hitting them, even though it's from behind, they sort of get fuzzy and you can't see their edges very well. And then the edges become more defined as it gets further away. And that's what we're going to do in here. These figures are going to be lighter and fuzzier, and then inside, and then on the outside, they'll get darker and more defined. The edge of her face is just going to be, that's it. That's how dark it's going to be. And, you know, maybe he works in the sun more and has a tan, just want to make something a little bit different. So I'm going to make his face a little bit darker. I'm going to make hers a little darker too, so it shows up. Now, when you're doing a small area like that, it's easy to get a puddle of paint. So I'm drying my brush and lifting up some of that extra and put much higher contrast out here. I don't like the way his back was shaped, so I'm just changing it. And as you get in further, the contrast. And I'm just not even going to worry about too much about those arms being in there. If you want to do more detail, and you can, it's totally up to you. So you can see I'm really just using the outline from the drawing, not much more. Now that got a little bit dark, and I'm going to soften that edge because it's against the light. And then I'm going to soften this edge because it's against the light. And it just would disappear a little bit. And there's the bottom of the manger. And the shadow. So I'm doing these little straw things, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. We're going to get this top layer of really well lit straw, and then put in the next layer of straw behind it that's not as well lit. I should have waited for that to dry probably, so I'm going to just wait now and let it dry a bit. And the further away it gets from the light, the darker it gets. But this part here is still pretty light. I'm going to just give it some look of as if it was built out of some woodish looking stuff. All this paper, colors, brushes, etc. is listed in the description if you'd like to find them. I'm going to do a little bit more and have a sort of a leafy pattern form back up here, as if there was a tree here. And this is a brighter blue. We can have leaves everywhere if we want to. As we come down into here, we'll get into, it'll turn a bit greener as light hits it. And this gives it a more 3D and some distance in the painting. And then these greener leaves will get to be a lighter green as they come down some more and the light hits them. And finally, I'm going to do some much lighter leaves. Needs a bit of orange. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and let me know what your favorite part of it was and if you learned anything. There always comes a time to tweak your paintings, and this is the time for this one. Because I wanted this peak to be off center and to look like we were facing the nativity from this side. But then I did the people from straight on. And so these walls are all skewed. I need to lighten this wall and change the angle down here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just lift a bunch of paint. And then this edge, it needs to make an angle like this one from about the same spot. So from here, so I'm just rubbing. Yes, it is making my paper a little funny, but it'll be okay. And then it'll look like we're looking inside of something and both walls are showing. And then this one goes to there. And so I'm going to put some paint there so that I know where it goes to. I'm going to draw this line. But I am going to make a darker shadow on this side. That I made that skinny and that fat, and I don't really like that. So I think I might just do the same thing, give it the same treatment. That ends it pretty close to the same place. I'm going to just go for it. So this will go approximately like that. I put a little bit of dark in there so that I can see if that's doing the trick. So if you decide to paint this, I would recommend making the peak, be right in the middle so that you don't go through all this of what I just went through. Well, that looks way better even with the peak off whack, and when this is dry, I'll put some gold on top of there. I'm getting some pure yellow to put right on this edge where it shouldn't be so dark, but I can't get it any lighter by rubbing it off anymore. Now these leaves, I used a couple different colors of green. I went over top of here with a brighter green because the leaves I was putting in over here weren't showing, and I wanted there to be something catching the light beyond, and then I just faded them out and made it waterier and waterier as I painted down. Just did little dabs. So I'm just going to show you a bit of what I did over here since I failed to record that part. I thought I was just going to do one thing, and then I kept going and going and going, and you know how that is. And just, make sure they're not all the same size. And they're sort of irregular. And then I took some really bright green, the permanent green pale, and mixed it with some other colors. Actually, that has some blue. You could add bright enough to show up over here in the dark. Need some back here too. You don't want them all the same size or even exactly the same shape, because leaves from different angles, they look different shapes. That looks really bright there, but watercolor dries lighter and it probably won't be a problem at all. I did the star with this silver paint. It's Fine Tech, and there's a link to everything that I use, so you should be able to find it if you just go to the description. And I've put 2 coats on that, but I want it to really show, and so I'm putting a 3rd coat. And I also put some around baby Jesus' head, just a little halo. I used the side of the brush, and I just want to put a little bit of gold in a few places too. Not a ton of it, just a touch. You roll your brush to get a finer point on it. And you could do this with ink too, with an ink pen, if you want it even finer. Let's put a little bit on the walls. I'm going to put a few of these up here, just above where baby Jesus is. The one thing that will give a glow in your paintings is having a light area against a dark area. Every time, no matter what the technique is, if you have a really light area against a really dark area, you will get a glow.